Ferrari has reacted to its embarrassing performance in Hungary in not just restructuring its technical team, but re-engaging legendary designer Rory Byrne as a consultant, the South African one of the architects of its dominance during the Michael Schumacher era. The prancing horse was left red-faced in Budapest after four-time F1 world champion Sebastian Vettel finished 6th. Charles Leclerc 11th, with both cars lapped for the first time since Spain 2011. But while on that occasion, with the Italian media baying for blood, its then technical boss Aldo Costa was swiftly fired. This time, team principal Mattia Binotto has taken a more measured approach. With a new performance development department, a more simplified chain of command, more power given to its department heads, and Byrne brought back again as a consultant. The rest is stable, with Laurent Mekies leading efforts trackside as sporting director, Enrico Gualtieri in charge of the power unit, and Simone Resta heading up the chassis engineering department. F1's extraordinary 2020 calendar is now one step from being finalized in season, with 3 more events confirmed last week for 13 in total that takes the racing into November. Sochi in Russia will be followed with a race at Germany's Nürburgring on October 11. The track a surprise addition that last hosted in 2013. It's then onto a double header at Portugal's Portimao circuit and Imola, which is hoping to get a 2021 slot as well, with the sport trialing a 2-day weekend format there, potentially reducing free practice to a single session, though details are yet to be finalized. Out are races in the Americas, with the USA, Mexico, Brazil, and Canada all cancelled due to the fluid nature of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, local restrictions, and the importance of staying safe. Circuit of the Americas boss Bobby Epstein said the news was painful but necessary. But in Brazil, it was a different story, with promoter Tomás Rohani incensed. The Interlagos boss now seeking legal action over F1's justification for cancellation, stating it's clearly sort of an almost invented reasoning, and that the sport could have held a safe event there. Had they consulted not only my company, but the city government, they would have received a 100% bulletproof plan, which exists. So much so that the Interlagos circuit was open for racing last week, he said. The final details, with news expected in the coming weeks, are likely to be on F1's plans to wrap up the championship in the Middle East in mid-December, with 2 events in Bahrain, potentially on different layouts, and the finale in Abu Dhabi. Former F1 driver Alex Zanardi, who sustained serious head injuries in an Italian handbike accident last month, has been returned to intensive care after falling into an unstable condition. The 53-year-old was transferred from Siena Hospital to a specialist neuro-rehabilitation facility last week, but his condition worsened, forcing him to be admitted to the ICU at Milan's San Raffaele Hospital. McLaren's Lando Norris made headlines in the aftermath of the Hungarian Grand Prix after a photo emerged online of the 20-year-old helping to strip down his car, something the Brit later admitted he has done since 2018, when he first became the squad's test and reserve driver. The action, rarely done by drivers, has been a crucial step in Norris getting to know his mechanics, with the Brit admitting it's better than being back at the hotel watching Netflix. Mexican Sergio Perez's future remains one of F1's hottest topics, with his Racing Point team in talks with 4-time F1 world champion Sebastian Vettel to replace him for 2021 and beyond. Perez has a contract with Racing Point until the end of 2022. But Vettel is an attractive proposition, with the squad set to become Aston Martin's works effort, and would represent the outfit's first world champion driver since Damon Hill in 1999, in its original form as Jordan. To do that, Racing Point must enact a break clause in Perez's contract before the end of July. But team principal Ottmar Zafnauer says it's more than just the fine print that will be the deciding factor. Sergio has been loyal to us, he said. He's been here for a long time. He's a great racer, works well with the team, and he works well with Lance, and he helps Lance, so I'm sure all those factors do matter. It's reported that Perez is in talks with midfield rival Alfa Romeo, though a drive with US team Haas would make sense given his marketing potential for its machine tool builder parent in the Americas. Mercedes rivals will need to bring upgrades to a triple header's second or third event if they want to steal a march, with Silver Arrow's technical chief James Allison admitting the squad waits for the breaks. F1's 2020 calendar has an unprecedented number of triple headers, with the second of 3 kicking off this week at Silverstone, with Mercedes on course to bring updates for its home races.
It is especially difficult to get updates to the car in the middle of a triple header. So generally we try to avoid that. We try to time the upgrades so that they arrive in between these concentrated blasts of racing. You can do it, but it's very, very difficult.
Spanish Grand Prix organizers say the event will still go ahead on August 16, despite Catalonia reintroducing COVID-19 restrictions, with those in Barcelona already given 15-day lockdown orders. A spike in new cases resulted in the latest action, fueling speculation that Silverstone could replace the Spanish round to create its own 11th-hour triple header, adding to the 2 already scheduled. But the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya is located in the Montmeló district beyond the lockdown, with F1 monitoring the situation, and a shift in plans only if things get much worse. We are not affected by the restrictions. Everything is controlled and reinforced with F1, the FIA, and circuit protocols, which are very strict, said a circuit spokesperson. Ferrari's 1000th Grand Prix will be held behind closed doors at Mugello in September. But the prancing horse hasn't forgotten its legion of fans, with a party planned in the nearby city of Florence. Mugello will form part of an Italian double-header with Monza, the Tuscan track hosting its first ever F1 race. But the grandstands will necessarily be empty given the ongoing COVID-19 crisis. But last week, Ferrari's Mattia Binotto was in Florence to meet with Mayor Dario Nardella to run through operational aspects, with the event needing to comply with security measures for social distancing. Lewis Hamilton may have destroyed the opposition in Budapest, but his Mercedes W11 wasn't completely bulletproof, with the squad revealing yet another sensor issue was to blame for his formation lap scare, when he said his engine felt like it was about to stall. But unlike the gearbox sensor problem in Austria, where both drivers had to stay off the curbs or risk retirement from the race, the engine gremlin in Hungary was far more benign.
What it actually was a sensor issue that was only affecting the engine around the idle control, so when he was sat there waiting to go off on the formation lap. Now, it wasn't a problem, it wasn't going to stall, and there is a protection that will actually stop the engine from stalling anyway if you were in that situation.
But Mercedes was unable to pass on the good news.
We couldn't tell him it was okay, and that's because of the rules that prevent you talking to the driver during that entire formation lap. So we knew it was fine, but he had to sort of worry a bit for the next few minutes until he got off the line.
To ensure the driver is in full control at the start, teams are forbidden to give directions during the formation lap, with a technical directive issued in 2017 stating they must drive the car alone and unaided. Both Haas pilots fell foul of this rule in Hungary when they were directed to pit for slicks. The pair handed 10-second time penalties. Max Verstappen had hearts racing in Hungary following his Turn 11 crash en route to the grid that forced his Red Bull Racing mechanics to squeeze a 90-minute suspension fix into 20 so he could take the start. And while the Dutchman was appreciative of their efforts, rewarding them with second place for their second straight podium, team boss Christian Horner has revealed the crash wasn't entirely Verstappen's fault, with the 22-year-old needing to synchronize 8th gear at the time, a routine task that required him to be flat out, the lack of grip catching him off guard. The circuit was more slippery than he thought, and the tires were pretty cold. Nobody could quite believe their eyes when he went off into the barrier, he said. Thanks for watching. To stay up to speed on all things Formula One, make sure you hit the subscribe button.